Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So on our last video we made some good progress getting the antifoul removed from the hull, but we found a lot of osmosis, which left me feeling a bit deflated. However, your comments, advice and reassurance have definitely made us feel a bit better about it. So today I'm going to get stuck into a few various jobs. I'm going to try and uncover a bit more of the blistering with the sander. Then I'm going to use this moisture meter, which was loaned to us by a friend at the cruising club. I'm going to use that to take some baseline moisture readings, and then I'll start opening up the blisters and see what we're kind of working with there. I'll also start to remove some of the antifouling from the starboard side of the boat, and some of the other blisters that have opened when we've been using the sander, which are dry inside. We're going to mix up some ferrin compound and start to fill those in. So I've got plenty of work to keep me busy today, and I better not waste any more time and just get stuck in. So we're just going to hold off mixing up the epoxy and the ferrin compound. The reason being, it's 10 degrees at the moment and they recommend temperatures over 12 degrees for curing. So we'll hold off. The sun is shining and I do expect it to get a bit warmer. So we'll start in with the sanding and then taking some moisture readings. Okay, so we've made a good dent in the sanding. So what we'll do is we'll get the moisture meter and we'll just go along the hull on this side, see what kind of readings we're getting, and I'll just kind of make sure, check the areas with the bigger blisters just to see what they're kind of coming up in comparison to the areas where there's no blisters. And then we'll open some of these things up. So that's the meter. You take the top off and a couple of prongs that you put onto the area that you want to check. Just a little on button there. Okay, so there's a few different settings. There's a building, softwood, hardwood, and then back to building. I'm not sure what setting you should use for fiberglass, gel coat stuff, so I'll probably try a couple of different modes to see what the readings are. Okay, so pretty much the bow of the port side. Just be careful climbing up the ladder. Got it set on the building setting, and that's giving us a reading, you can see it there with the sunlight, 2.1%. Okay, and let's try it on a different mode. Softwood. It's saying 16.9%. It's kind of fluctuating a bit there. Hardwood, 8.4%, which again it's reading, measuring that as a low reading. So just go back to building, 2.4% again, which is low. So we'll keep it on building, just building and maybe hardwood, because I'm guessing that's kind of the closest to the material properties that would be in the fiberglass and gel coat, but you guys can correct me if I'm wrong on that. So we'll move along a meter. 1.2% there. Building 1.4%. Let's have a look at here. 2.2% here. I'm guessing 2.2 and 3% isn't too bad. So 3's the highest reading we've got so far. 3.2's our highest still. But that's around the area where the most osmosis is, I think. We'll do a few more checks along here where there's big clusters of osmosis and see if they're reading any higher. have a look and see how the rudder's reading. 4, 4.4, 5.2. So I had a quick look online, and that moisture meter may not be the best for GRP boats. The two prongs that are on the meter are meant to kind of poke into soft and hardwoods to give a reading, but you obviously can't do that with GRP. So I don't know how close of a reading that meter would be in comparison to using a marine meter, which just kind of you hold up against the surface and it reads through it. I'm not sure. I'll need to do a bit more investigation on that. But anyway, what I'm going to do is just open up some of these blisters and see how bad it is, how far into the fiberglass it goes, but just to see what degree of delamination there is. So the tool I'm going to use today is this little belt sander. Some of you guys have suggested using a flat wheel to skim away the surface and open them up. Other people have suggested a little rotary tool. At the moment, I think a wee rotary tool might be too small and a flat disc might be too big. Certain stages they would be really beneficial for like the larger areas or the very smaller areas. But I think this will be a good tool today just to open some of those kind of medium-sized blisters anyway. Just trying to sand it back to the point where there's no gap between the laminate, the fiberglass here, and I can get my fingertip into the gap between the two layers of fiberglass there, which I don't want. So that actually didn't look like a very big blister, but I've had to grind out quite a large area to the point where the laminate is all intact, because just around the blister it had delaminated the glass. So maybe a flat wheel will be the better job. So that one you can see some clear delamination. The glass is almost like two separate layers set on top of each other. We've taken a layer off and there's an obvious step between the two layers. So we're going to have to sand that back till the two layers of fiberglass aren't separated. And then we can start building that up with epoxy and fiberglass. I'm just going to open a few more of these. I don't want to open loads of them, because I think actually I will need a wee die grinder to open some of the smaller ones there. I've had to open this one up. It started about the size of a 10 pence. And now you can see this is how far I've had to grind this out to get the surface to be a nice camber without any kind of step there and delamination. This one's going to be similar. You can see how deep that is with some delamination. So there you go. Let's say how wide I've had to open that up. So I'll open a few more around this area, just see if they're similar or just not as bad. Hoping they're just not as bad, but we'll see. Okay, this is reassuring. Here's a few areas of ground out. Now, these actually aren't delaminated and appear dry. When I drilled them out, they were like this, these little kind of surface spots, but some of them have a bit of a bump to them. These are smooth, they're flush with the rest of the boat. But if I pop the moisture meter on there, and then just back on the gel coat, and again into the areas where I've ground it out, it's reading 0. So not all the blisters are opening up like those 2 big ones that I've done there. Some of them, when you take the top layer of the gel coat off and kind of grind into them, it's just going to healthy looking fiberglass. I'm not going to say everywhere's going to be like that, but it's reassuring that those areas might get away with just applying fern compound, and then the bigger areas we're going to have to obviously put fiberglass in and then fur it all on top of that. I had done a couple of other areas there, and here's one that I found actually was reading 5 or hash reading so far. Now I'd only just taken the top part of that off, so I'm going to grind that open a bit more and see if we can get that reading a bit lower. So that was a big can of worms. Did you see how small that hole started out? That's the outcome of it now, but it just kept going and going. The areas of delamination, we're not gonna really know what we're gonna find until we open them all up anyway. We did put a tarpaulin over the boat. A couple of storms have passed through and ripped it all, so it's not in the best condition. It might offer a bit of protection for those areas that we've opened up below the water line and let them dry out a wee bit more. So I'm just going to take a break from some of the sanding and come around to the starboard side of the boat, and we'll use the scraper to try and take some of the antifoul off and make a wee start there as well. Just mixing the jobs up so we don't suffer from, you know, kind of sanding fatigue or scraping fatigue or anything like that, just to kind of stop me from losing the will to live. Well, it's a couple of days later and we're back down the boatyard. We've made some good progress getting the antifoul scraped off the starboard side. So we've probably about half the boat done so far. Obviously a lot of sanding has to be done to take the residual antifoul off that we just can't get at with the scraper. And I can't take credit for this. This side has been done by Buffy, a friend of ours from the boatyard. and yeah, he has done a lot of work to that. So we're really grateful to Buffy for putting in a few hours, hard work getting all that antifoul off. It's really appreciated. So I think what I'll do is I'm going to leave all the clusters of the little kind of blisters until I get a rotary tool, because the belt's a bit too aggressive and cutting into the fiberglass a bit too much where it doesn't need to be. So what I'll do is get a rotary tool for those smaller areas, but use the sander where I need to be a bit more aggressive. Well, looks like there's a load of rain coming, so I might not get much more done today. So I'll tinker about for a bit and then I'll probably wrap up, and we'll resume again in a couple of days when I get some time off work. Well guys, it's been a few days since we've been last down at the boat, but a lot has happened since the last clips there, and I'll just give you a quick shot of the boat here so you can see where we're at. So as you can see, the bottom has all the antifoul off, the port and starboard side, apart from the keel. Don't worry about the keel, that's a job for later on. Yeah, okay, so what happened was we thought sanding and scraping the hull, just me and Kelly, was going to take at least another month between work and things like that, and it's time we don't have. It's just the start of January now, and another month puts us into early February, and all the other jobs will be taking a back seat if we're doing that. So what we did was put out a distress call to the guys in the boatyard and the sailing club and asked if anybody would like to volunteer their free time to come down and help us sand and scrape the boat. Much to our surprise, quite a few of them says yeah, they would come down. I think it might have been something to do with the offer of bacon buddies, biscuits and cups of tea that swayed it. But yes, a lot of the guys came down, and a couple of days ago we got stuck in and just blitzed the hull of the boat there, and that's how she's looking now. So yeah, amazing job. Everybody came down, sanders at hand, and it took us about 3 hours probably to get that done. It was great. So I just want to say a massive thank you to the boys from the Down Cruising Club and the Kaji Boatyard, who all came down to chip in and help out. Absolute legends, thank you so much. We really appreciate it, and you've just absolutely just blown us away with your kindness. Haven't started opening the blisters on the starboard side here, but we'll do that over the next few days. So I know some of you are poised to type something in the comments box down below, if you haven't already, about the moisture meters and them not being appropriate, but we have something that we got a loan of. It's a proper marine moisture meter. What I'm going to do is go around and take some readings. Now we've got a bit of a drawing here that I've printed off of the hull shape, the hull shape of the Beneteau Oceanus 430, and I'll just note the moisture meter readings on the diagram, and then we'll have an idea of what percentage of moisture it's showing on what area of the hull, and then we can have a look at that. But what I'm going to do also is compare this moisture meter readings to the moisture meter with the little pins that I used earlier, and just see if there's any correlation between the two, if they're kind of similar or not. I have the 2 meters ready to go. There's 2 readings on the marine moisture meter. There's a shallow depth and GRP. So if I do start off with shallow depth, I'm just going to take a reading under the hull right here in this area where there's some blister. And the shallow depth is just giving us about 14%. I'll just put it to GRP. And that's about 19%. This is the softwood setting on the cheap moisture meter, and it's reading 15. So the softwood setting on this cheap or cheaper moisture meter, not far off, it's pretty close to the same readings for the shallow depth on the marine moisture meter. You could use this one maybe as a guide for shallow or surface moisture if you wanted, I suppose. Would save you a couple of £100 in comparison to this one. But I'm just going to use the marine meter and go around and start taking some moisture meters from the hull and marking them on that chart that we have. Now this is where the bilge is, so expected to be a wee bit higher, so 17. Okay, so use the moisture meter. We used it in the two settings. So first of all, we used the shallow depth one and done both sides of the hull. Now they were consistently reading around the end of the green margin, just into the yellow, between 14 and 15, closer to the water line, and then kind of 15 to 16 the closer we got to the bottom of the hull in here. And that was the whole length of the hull, even including over the areas where the blisters had opened up. But then went and done it with the GRP setting, and consistently the reading was around the 20 mark there in the red, apart from underneath where the engine would be, I think, around here, behind the keel. Up into there it was around the 25 mark on the meter and alarming. So we've charted all those down on that piece of paper with the hull diagram, and we're going to use it as a baseline. So what we'll do is continue opening up the blisters, washing them out, letting them dry, washing them out, letting them dry. Give it a few months to kind of properly dry out, and then check it all again with the moisture meter, and hopefully the readings have came down enough that we can then happily put on some fern compound and start closing these blisters up. But I'm happy at the moment to put this part of the project to bed for a while. Well, I'll not be videoing any of it, but of course we've still opened the blisters on the starboard side of the boat, but we'll not video that. We'll just, because it's getting a bit monotonous. So we can move on to the next part of the project, which is getting the three hulls removed and getting those replaced. So I think we're happy enough to sideline this part of the project now. And just let those blisters air out. Obviously we have to open up the blisters on the starboard side, give them a wash over the next few weeks and let them dry out properly as well. But I think we can move on now to the next part of the project, which is going to be getting the rest of these three hulls removed and replacing them with the composites. So yeah, we'll do that. And also the rudder here, we're going to look into getting the rudder dropped. Either we do it ourselves or we get someone else to do it. It depends on budget and the availability of somebody else to come and do it. But it might be something we can tackle ourselves, Kelly and I, or with some help from the guys in the boatyard. There is some play in the rudder up at the bearings there, or the bushings, so and we're going to drop that and get those replaced, and that'll be another thing ticked off the list. And then we'll move on to something else. There's plenty to keep us going. Still waiting to get our keel bolts checked, so hopefully that'll be happening in the next few weeks or so. That'll be another thing ticked off the list. Yeah, so I think we'll leave this video here. I just want to say before we go that we owe a massive thank you to obviously the guys from the boatyard and Down Cruising Club for helping out sanding the bottom of the boat, and one of our subscribers called Sandy, who not only helped us set up our Amazon wishlist but has also bought us a few things off it as well. So thanks very much, Sandy, we really appreciate your help. So that's it, guys. If you've enjoyed this video, please remember to give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing. It's completely free and it really helps our channel out. And for other ways to support our channel and help us with the refit of Aquarius, then check out the links in the description down below. We'd really appreciate that, and it would be an amazing help for us. So thank you so much, and until next time, I'll see you soon.